It's summer, it's hot, and it's time to have fun. But everybody must keep safety in mind. Medical experts have weighed in on how to make sure we enjoy pools and beaches, the sun on our skin, and bonfires and barbecues. Many public pools and beaches are finally back open, and while they can be a great way to cool off with your kids on a hot summer day, it's important to keep safety in mind.
The most common instance really of these drownings or near drownings happen in public pools and or private pools where there are a large amount of people, and that might come across as a surprise.
According to the CDC, about 10 people drown in the United States every day. Drowning is also considered the leading cause of death, aside from birth defects, for kids between the ages of 1 and 4 years old. Dr. Purva Grover, who is an emergency medicine physician for Cleveland Clinic, says parents need to keep a close eye on their kids at all times. It doesn't matter how good of a swimmer they might be, or if they are using a flotation device, an accident can happen anywhere. She says if you are spending the day at the pool or the beach, make sure your kids are taking frequent breaks from the water. They should also avoid swimming on an empty stomach. And finally, if you don't know how to do CPR, make sure you learn.
You can truly save a life if you do good CPR at the site. There is multiple literature which has shown us that, especially when we're talking about drowning specifically, CPR given at site can truly modify the overall outcome and can prevent long-term disability and death as well.
Dr. Grover says if you own a pool, it should be properly fenced off so your kids can't go out there unsupervised. She also tells parents that if their child goes missing, check the pool first. If you have little kids, you know how difficult it can be to slather them up with sunscreen to protect their delicate skin from the sun. According to Cleveland Clinic dermatologist Dr. Melissa Pyliang, one childhood sunburn can increase risk for melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer.
Studies have shown that most of our sun exposure happens in childhood. We're outside running around playing, we're playing sports, we're outside a lot, and that's when we get a lot of our sun exposure. So it's really important to think about sunscreen and sun protection at a very young age.
Regardless of the type of sunscreen you're applying to your child, you'll want to use a good coat that requires rubbing in. She says waxy sunscreen sticks may be a good option for kids' faces because they go on easily, stick well, and won't run into their eyes. Some kids enjoy smearing this type of product all over themselves. Just be sure they don't miss any spots like around their eyes. Another option kids often like is sunscreen spray. If you're using a spray, you'll want to make 2 or 3 passes to get a nice shiny coat and then rub it in. Dr. Pyliang says you can even let your kids take over once they're old enough. In fact, that's what she did with her own children.
When they could, I would let them spray themselves while I was watching. I think it's good for them to have that control, and then they form the habit of just doing it themselves. I would have them go outside in a well-ventilated area and watch them to make sure they didn't miss any areas.
If it's a battle to sunscreen your kids, sun protective clothing is another option. These items can be worn in the water, and you won't have to reapply sunscreen to areas covered by sun protective clothing. Summer is back, and so are the bonfires and backyard barbecues. They can be a great way to have some fun, but it's also important to be careful when you're around open flames.
We see a fair share, frankly speaking, of touching the grill, touching the surface, food falling over, and all those are pretty common occurrences, unfortunately.
Dr. Purva Grover is an emergency medicine physician for Cleveland Clinic and has seen all kinds of burn injuries over the years. While she says adults might be the ones cooking on the grill or building the fire, parents also need to keep a close eye on their little ones. She says it can be very easy for them to accidentally grab onto something hot or get too close to the flames. The same goes for adolescent-aged kids. They may be tempted to throw random stuff into the fire, which can be incredibly dangerous. According to safety experts, trash, plastic, cardboard, wet wood, and accelerants like gasoline or lighter fluid should never be used.
I usually recommend that the parents actually have a pile of things that can be thrown into the fire and can be used in the fire, especially when we're talking about the adolescent age group, because we have seen some pretty nasty fire-related injuries and heat-related injuries.
Dr. Grover says if you suffer a major burn, seek medical care right away. However, if it happens to be more minor, run the burn under cool water and wrap it in gauze. Never put ice on the burn, which can further damage the tissue.